Welcome and good morning to all B.Sc. third year students of optional subject Fishery Science. Boys, during last part of our virtual class, we are studying fish feed ingredients. These fish feed ingredients, these are to be used or produced from the industries, produced from the mills, and these ingredients, these are to be used as a supplementary food for the aquatic animal culture. These aquatic animal culture may be in fresh water, that animal may be cultured in marine water. Or not only these aquatic animals, not only fishes, these are to be cultured, but culture of mollusk, culture of crab, culture of prawns. For these aquatic life, these various ingredients, these are to be used as a supplementary good feed diet which flourish and which grow your crop. Here in this part we have seen the important feed ingredient. That ingredient are the animal byproduct and miscellaneous. In this animal byproduct, in last part, we have seen two important fish ingredient. That is, one is the hydrolyzed poultry feathers and second is the meat and bone meal. Now, next to this hydrolyzed poultry feather and meat and bone meal, animal byproducts which is to be found and which is to be occur in our area, that animal byproduct is the fish meal. Next important animal byproduct is the fish meal. The meal these are to produce, meal these are to be formed when the fishes these are to be captured in surplus quantity, in large quantities, but used as a food in fresh condition as a minimum quantity, and maximum quantity these are to be, as it is surplus quantity, better way, this surplus quantity these are to be converted into number of byproduct. Such byproduct these are to be used for the aquatic life. Fish meals are manufactured by cooking fish. Fish meals are the manufactured by cooking fish, pressing to remove water and oil, and then drying. After extraction of oil, extraction of water, then these fishes these are to be drying. Such dried fishes, it is to be called as the fish meal. Fish meals are nothing but the manufactured fish meals are manufactured by cooking fish, pressing to remove water and oil, and then drying. That is called as the fish meal. Fish meals are often made from a single species of fish. Fish meals are produced from a single species. When fishes these are to be caught, captured, a single fish species such as sardine, single fish species such as mackerel, when these are to be caught, these are to be captured in large quantities such as herring, such as tunas, or such as the other canid fishes. These fishes these are to be caught, captured in large quantities, and fish meal these are to produce from the surplus quantity of sardine, surplus quantity of mackerel, surplus quantity of tuna, surplus quantity of hilsa, surplus quantity of herring. Then that meal is called as the fish meal. That fish meal is called as fish meal. Means meals these are to produce from single species. It is called as single fish meal. When the fish meal these are to produce combine herring, sardine, hilsa, mackerel, when these are to be combined such different fishes to produce the fish meal, it is to be called as the multi-species. More than one species these are to be used to prepare a meal, and that meal is called as the fish meal of more than two species or many species. But the fish meal which is to be produced from single species and fish meal which is to be produced from more than two species, more than one species, the fish meal, such fish meal these are to produce, such as herrings, such as mackerel, such as sardines, such as bottom fish meal, and all these fish meal these are to be sold in market. Sold in market. The single species fish meals are more uniform in quality. Some typical analysis which is to be followed as the single species meals are more uniform as compared to the more than two species of fish meals. When we have produced the fish meals from single species and when we have produced the meals from the more than two species, more than one species, at that time in which fish meals these are to be uniform and good quality. The fish meal these are to produce from single species, these are to be uniform and good quality as compared to the fish meal these are to produce from the more than one species. Because in one single species, those fish ingredient or those different constituent which is to present in that animal, that constituent these are to be easily available, easily used as a diet for the aquatic life. But when more than two species these are to be collect and form a meal, these are to be not uniform and these are to be not a quality product as compared to the single meal. Hence, single species meals are more uniform in quality and quantity as compared to the more than multi-species product. This analysis these are to be studied. This analysis these are to be we have seen in this following table. In the following table, with this following table manner, a table these are to be tabulated, and in this table we have studied. In first this table we have seen this is the animal, this is the crude protein level, this is the crude fat level, this is the crude fiber level, and this is the sodium level or the sodium percentage. These crude fats, proteins and fibers these are to be indicated in percent. These are to be indicated in percent, as well as sodium is also indicated in percent. Then animals these are to be taken on the left side in a table, which animals and which animal possesses their uniform specialty. First, that is the herring meal. First is the herring meal. This herring meal these are to be possesses crude protein 70%, crude fats 7.5%, crude fiber 1%, and sodium it is to be 0.5%. Then Mendanan meal, this is also important fish, and this Mendanan meal these are to be contain 68% protein, 7.5% fats, fiber these are to be absent or not reported, sodium these are to be 0.3%. Then third is the anchovy meals. Anchovy meal these are to be contain crude protein 64%, crude fat 6%, crude fiber 1%, and sodium 0.8%. Then carp meal, whole carp. Remember that here is a carpet, not carpet, there is a carp, simple. That is the carp meal. This carp meal, whole carp these are to be produced and form 75%, crude protein 9.5% fats, crude fiber level these are to be not reported, crude that is sodium is also not reported. Shrimp meal 36 to 48% protein, 0.3% fats, and 11% it is fibers. Again sodium these are to be not reported. Then crab meal 30% crude protein, 1.7% fats, and 11% fibers. And bottom fish meal, this bottom fish meal these are to be contain 60% protein, then fats, fibers and sodium these are to be not reported. Means when we have prepared more than one species meals, then in these species, remember see that carp, shrimp, crab and bottom fish meal. In these four different fishes, sodium is to be absent, sometime fiber is to be absent, sometime fat is to be absent. Means these are to be not uniform. But when we have prepared a single fish species such as herring, such as mendad or such as anchovy, then they can contain all protein, fats, then fibers and sodium. Hence, single species food, these are to be more uniform and good quality as compared to the more than one species feed. This is the fish meal, these are to produce, these are to be formed from the, this is the animal meal byproduct or the animal byproduct, these are to be formed, produced. Then next animal byproduct, that is the blood meal. Remember that blood meal, those animals, these are to be cut into slaughterhouses and blood, these are to be wastage. When this blood, these are to be collected and produce a particular mechanical and machinery, chemical action, then these are to be formed a meal. That meal is called as the blood meal. And blood meal is produced from clean fresh animal blood. Blood meal is produced from clean fresh animal blood, exclusive of all extraneous material, exclusive of all extraneous material such as hair, stomach contents, etc. Means blood meal is to produce only, blood meal is to produce only, that is from the clean fresh animal blood. Clean fresh animal blood, exclusive, remove means from the blood, from this, when animal, these are to be cut into the slaughterhouses, at that time waste material, these are to be removed, exclusive of all these extraneous materials, all waste material. Which are these all waste material? Such as hair, these are to be removed, stomach content, these are to be removed. And when hair and stomach content, these are to be removed, then good quality of blood, these are to be present, and that blood is to be used as a blood meal. Blood meal may be dried by several processes. Blood meal may be dried by several processes and food is to be produced, it is called as blood meal. But most often by spirit drying or spray drying. Spray dried blood meal has approximately a crude protein level. A spray dried blood meal has a approximately crude protein level of 85% protein. Fat level is to be 0.5 to 3% fat. Fiber level is to be 2.5% fiber, and ash is 6% ash, and lysine is 9 to 11% lysine. Means in blood meal, extraneous to these fat, protein, fibers as well as ash, here is a lysine is present, and lysine is to be 9 to 11% lysine, which is to present in blood meal. Lysine is to present in blood meal, and this is also important animal byproduct. When we have prepared a number of byproduct, number of extraneous materials which is to be removed from the blood of animals, when these animals, these are to be cut into slaughterhouses, these animals, these are to be cut into number of different occasions, then these waste part, these are to be removed, and only from the blood these are to be processed, several processing, and produce a food. That food is called as the blood meat, which is also important source for the diet, important source for the ingredient which contain protein, fats, fibers, lysine as well as the ash, and it is to be a good animal byproduct. With this we have completed here animal byproduct, animal byproduct. Then last byproduct, that is called as the miscellaneous byproduct. Last is the miscellaneous byproduct. Means we have seen meal byproduct, oil extractives, and animal byproduct. Then instead of these meal byproduct, instead of oil extractives, instead of animal, other various product which is to produce, other various ingredient, these are to be formed by number of other industries, number of other different processing mills. That byproduct is called as miscellaneous byproduct, and following are the miscellaneous byproduct which is to produce from the waste materials, waste from the industries and waste from the manufacturing, that is mills. In which miscellaneous byproduct, the first important miscellaneous byproduct is the corn distilleries dried grain with solubles. Name is to be hard and name is to be so long. Corn distilleries dried grain with solubles. Corn distilleries dried grain with solubles. This corn distilleries dried grain with solubles product, or this product is to be obtained by removal of ethyl alcohol. It is to be obtained by removal of ethyl alcohol by distillation from the yeast fermentation, by the distillation or distillation from the yeast fermentation of corn or corn mixture by condensing and drying at least 75% of the solids of the resultant whole siltage, and that whole siltage is called as the corn distilleries dried grain with solubles. Corn distilleries dried grain with solubles. This product, these are to be obtained or produced by removal of ethyl alcohol by distillation from the yeast fermentation of corn or corn mixture by condensing and drying at least 75% of solids of the resultant whole siltage. Corn distilleries dried grain up with solubles has a crude protein level of 26 to 27%, crude fat level is to be 7 to 8%, and crude fiber level is to be 8.5 to 9.5%. Means this corn distilleries grain with solubles, which is to produce from the extraction of the ethyl alcohol from distillation of the yeast fermentation of corn or corn mixture, and produce the product, produce the meals, that is called as the corn distilleries dried grain with solubles, which contain 26 to 70% protein, 7 to 8% fat, 8.5 to 9.5% fibers, and that product is the good miscellaneous byproduct or ingredient for aquatic animals, for culture of animals. Then second miscellaneous byproduct is the brewer's yeast. Name brewer's yeast. Brewer's dried yeast is the dried, sterilized, unextracted yeast. Brewer's yeast is nothing but the brewer's dried yeast is the dried, sterilized, unextracted yeast. It is called as Saccharomyces, and this Saccharomyces, these are to produce, these are to be formed, resulting as a byproduct from the brewing of beer and ale, and these byproduct, it is to be called as brewer's yeast. This brewer's dried yeast has a crude protein level of 45%, crude fat is 1%, and crude fiber is 2.7%. Means after the forming, after the extraction of beer and ale, a product which is to be formed from the mills or from the industry, and that product is called as brewer's yeast. This brewer's dried yeast has a crude protein level of 45%, fat is 1%, and fiber is 2.7%, which is important miscellaneous feed ingredient used for the aquatic animal, for the aquatic life. Then next miscellaneous byproduct, brewer's dried grains. Brewer's dried grain. Brewer's dried grain is the extracted dried residue of barley malt alone. Brewer's dried grain is the extracted dried residue of barley malt alone, or in mixture with other cereal grains or grain product resulting from the manufacture of work or beer, and may contain pulverized spent hops in an amount not to exceed 3%, in which not more than 3% other ingredient, other content, these are to present. Brewer's dried grain may have a crude protein level of 24 to 30%, crude fat 4.5% to 8.5%, and fiber 10.5 to 16%. Means in brewer's dried grain, protein is to be 24 to 30%, fat is 4.5 to 8.5, and fiber is 10.5 to 16%, and that brewer's dried grains is important ingredient used for aquatic life. Then last ingredient from the miscellaneous, that is dried wavy. Dried wavy is the residue obtained by drying wavy. Dried wavy is the residue obtained by drying wavy, a byproduct of cheese manufacturing. The byproduct of cheese manufacturing, and this dried wavy, these are to be contain at least 65% lactose, 13% protein, fat percent is to be near about 0.8%, and no crude fiber is to be found. No crude fiber is to be occur in dried wavy. Means dried wavy is residue obtained by drying wavy, a byproduct of cheese manufacturing, and a byproduct of cheese manufacturing is called as dried wavy. It contains at least 65% lactose, 13% protein, 0.8% fats, and fibers are absent, fibers are not reported. That product is called as dried wavy. It is called as dried wavy. With this, we have completed the important aspects, that is feed ingredient, which is to be used for the culture of aquatic animal. 4 byproduct we have seen. First, animal byproduct, meal byproduct. Second, animal byproduct. Third, oil extractives, and 4 miscellaneous. In these 4 different byproduct, these are to be produced from the industry or mills, and these are to be used as a ingredient for the culture of aquatic animals, for the culture of animal husbandry. And with this article or this unit is to be completed. Hope you understand better. Any problem, please ask. Thank you, all of you.